Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our seventh conversation in our speaker series that the collective has been doing for the past couple of months. If you've joined us before, you know the drill. We're going to take just a couple of minutes to let other folks come in and view this conversation. So we just want you to hold tight. This is going to be a fantastic dynamic convo. Give us just a few seconds. We're going to let others in and then we'll be right back to you. Hello, everyone. We're back. We're so excited that you could join us this evening for the Collective's Our Collective Power speaker series. This is the seventh time we've been together to have dynamic conversations, and I am your hostess, Stefanie Brown James, co-founder and executive director of the Collective. And this is really the highlight of my month, being able to have these conversations with so many dynamic men and women that are running for Congress. And tonight is no different. We are talking about the importance of uplifting women who lead and who serve. And I could think of no better quadruplets. I don't know what you call when you have four twins, but or not four twins, four babies at one time, whatever that is. Needless to say, we have four dynamic women who are joining us today for a conversation about how they are working to uplift and serve. And what is so dynamic is that these are four women who, if elected and when they are elected in November to serve their congressional districts in Congress, they will be the first Black woman to ever hold those positions. So we are talking about four historic firsts. Many of them have already broken the glass ceilings in a number of ways. And so I am so excited to get started and introduce to you our four phenomenal leaders to our conversation. So let's bring them on up. We're ready for these. Hello.
Hi, Stefanie.
Hi, ladies. I am so happy to see y'all. This is just an honor to have four of you at the same time. And let me tell you, I want to give a special shout out to Chris Scott, who is the Collective's National Political Director, and our team. For just being able to pull this together. Because I can tell you, these ladies literally have just come from the campaign trail. Like they have been out, they've either been knocking on doors or calling or texting or doing something. They're on the phone fundraising. And so to get all four of them here at the same time is no easy feat. And so I want to just thank our team, and I want to thank your teams, because it literally takes teamwork to make the dream work. So I am so excited to have this conversation with four history makers. And just quickly, I want to introduce who is with us this evening. And before I do that, let me just say, we love the interaction on social media with these conversations. So we encourage you to utilize the hashtag Collective PAC or hashtag Building Black Political Power or Build Black Political Power, just to give your thoughts. Please, the quotes and gems of knowledge that these ladies are going to drop tonight, we want you to be able to spread the word about it. So please talk about this conversation online. But quickly, I'm going to introduce who we have this evening for our event tonight. First, we are joined by Miss Joyce Elliot from Arkansas. She is a public school educator. She worked as a teacher for over 30 years. She's been in the state legislature for over 20 years. She's been really focused on working across the aisle to create a number of changes and policy changes for her community, especially in the areas of education. She was able to create what became the #1 pre-K program in the nation. And let me tell you, as the mother of a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, to have strong pre-K education is important, but we know it's something that not every child is able to have. And so her taking the leadership to make that a possibility is definitely one of the keystones of Joyce Elliott's time in the state legislature in Arkansas. And so we are just honored to be welcomed by her this evening. Next, thank you, Joyce. Next, we have Miss Pat Timmons-Goodson. And as I said, listen, we already have women that have broken the glass ceiling here in this conversation tonight. Pat has had a long career in public service. She is now running for North Carolina's 8th Congressional District. She became a judge at just 29 years old, and from then became the first Black woman to serve on the North Carolina Supreme Court. That is major, especially as we're talking about so many policy changes that deal directly with the judicial system. To be the first Black woman in North Carolina to serve on the Supreme Court is major. She was also appointed by our president, Barack Obama, to be on the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. So thank you so much, Pat, for being with us this evening. Next, we have Miss Jackie Gordon from New York, from the 2nd Congressional District. Lieutenant Colonel Jackie Gordon is a combat veteran. She is an educator, a public servant. She's a mother. We have many mothers on this in this conversation. She served in the Army Reserves for over 29 years and was an educator for over 30 years. And so she has an extremely well-rounded perspective, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Jackie has to say tonight. So hello, Jackie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And next,
I'm so glad I'm with my girls again, my ladies.
All right.
I know that. Listen, I'm at some point. I already know I'm gonna have to keep y'all in check. Like, y'all, we are on the live internet, okay? So y'all don't have to lead a girl talk to the next call. You know what I mean? But we get caught up. See, look at me. I done got caught up already. Okay, finally. We have my sister, Desiree Tims from my home state of Ohio, from the Dayton area to be specific, the 10th Congressional District. Desiree is so excited to represent her hometown. She is an organizer. She's had the chance to work in President Obama's White House. She eventually became a Capitol Hill staffer, and she is really working to make sure that the place where she grew up can be the best it can be for all people. And so I am excited to have our youngest person on the panel today, but I can tell you the experience that Desiree brings to not only this conversation, but as a strong woman running for office is definitely what's needed right now in Ohio's 10th congressional district. So that's our panel for this evening. Welcome, ladies. We're going to get right into the conversation because I know our time is limited, and I want you all to be able to talk about yourselves as much as possible. And so I'm going to actually start off with my first question of the evening, and that is, if you look back at 2018. And the Collective PAC is, we've really prided ourselves on being able to support Black candidates running for office on the local, state, and federal level. And so 2018 was one of those dynamic years where we saw so many women running for office and winning office from all levels of government. This year, we are claiming and saying that 2020 is the year of the Black candidate. We have so many Black candidates that are running for office all across the country, record numbers, especially Black women. I mean, just alone, the Collective has endorsed over 156 people this cycle. 101 of them are women. And so I want to get your perspectives. How does it feel to be a part of history when people say that this is the year of the Black candidate, and knowing that you all are poised to make history or to continue to make history? I think I'll actually start with Joyce for that question.
Well, thank you so much for that question. And sometimes, I have to just pinch myself and think about all the time, because, Black women toil so many times for everybody else doing everything else and being the one almost who holds up the sky in so many instances. But I often say, gosh, it finally feels good to be fashionable for a change, where you're not knocking down doors and kicking over the chairs and dragging in your own table. It's refreshing, honestly. And as you said, everybody who was here in some ways has been breaking glass ceilings. But I think the thing that's so important this time around, I am not doing it and feeling so lonely as I normally feel, because I can feel, the love and the energy where other people are helping us, because it can be so lonely, Noé. You see something and you just got to change it. I've been doing that since I was 15 years old, saying I was going to an integrated school where people didn't want us. First, we were forced to go there. And then we were told, well, the school's been de facto integrated. You can go back to your Black school now. We expect you to. So this is a collection of about the 5 families we were called together to be given that message. And out of the blue, just there's been this thing in me, this streak in me, that has always said, when something is not right, I find myself saying something about it. So at 15, and these people are telling me to go back to another school, I knew enough to know if they wanted me to leave, there was a reason I should stay. So I just blurted out, I'm not going. And I got hot all over. I thought I was going to die because everybody's looking at me. What do you mean you're not going? And I just thought, dear God, I hope my sisters and brothers are going to stay with me, because otherwise I'm by myself. But they did, and everybody else left. And, I have not been sorry about that. That is when I learned, particularly as a woman, it's not to say that men don't have intuition, but just my intuition said to me, this is where you take a stand. And running this year, and I'm definitely taking a stand, because we've not ever had a Black person represent my district of any kind. I would be the first, period. Other people are not running, but I believe in doing what I can do and not ask other folks to do it. I can do this. I'm ready to do it. But it feels like a warm hug doing it this time around, as opposed to somebody that's constantly shoving the door in your faces. And it would be a travesty for us not to embrace this. So I'm glad to be here with my other 3 sisters too, because this is the time. It's not just feeling it, but there are other markers that say this is the time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Jackie?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I think that if you look at all of us, we are all uniquely poised to step into this place. We have all done the work. We have all spent our entire life not preparing to run for Congress, but we have been taking care of others. We have been doing the work, serving others, and all those things that we've been doing have been giving us the credentials to be able to say we are ready. We didn't just get off the living room couch and say I'm running for Congress. And so it's really difficult for some people. You're not prepared, or you're not going to do this, or you don't have the credentials, or you're not ready. And then we're coming in numbers. We're coming in numbers. And so I'm a union member for over 30 years. So I know what that means when you come in numbers, you know? And so it's really so excited. And I do want to echo what Joyce said. A lot of the spaces that I've traversed, I've been by myself. Oftentimes around the table, I'm the only female, I'm the only Black person, I'm the only Black female. And it's really nice. That's why I got really excited at the top, because I hang out with these ladies, and whenever I get on a Zoom and I see their names are gonna be there, I just feel like I'm gonna be okay, I'm good, because I have my women and my partners with me, and I know they have my 6.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Desiree?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. We are definitely a tribe in the struggle to flip these seats, but we are doing the work. And the unique aspect about all of this is that none of us got into this race because we knew it was going to be the year of the Black candidate.
That's right.
We got into this race because we were trying to serve our community. We saw a need and we wanted to fill it. We wanted to make sure that we were helping our neighbors and our loved ones access the heights of American idealism and the American dream. We knew that it could be and should be within reach, but it's not, because of the lack of representation that, frankly, my community has been neglected by the current representative. And so it feels so good and exciting to be the first. We were not invited to the table, but we are all here trying to build a bigger table. And the goal is to not be the last. It's to make sure that we're passing the baton and that we're bringing other people with us, that we're carrying their voices with us in the halls of Congress. And we know the pain of our community. We know the needs of our community because we're in the community. We're of, with, for, and by the people. And it's so exciting to be on this journey along with my sisters from around the country, and we're able to lean on each other for advice as we flip these seats.
Thank you. Pat?
Well, I'll begin by saying that I concur fully in all of the statements that my sisters have made. For me, it means that those that have come before us, that their service wasn't in vain. And so I'm not just speaking of those that served in Congress ahead of us. I'm talking about our mothers and our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers. They served in the home. They served their families. They served their communities. They served their churches. They were doing all of that. They were doing all of that in hopes of building and making a better future for us. And so us coming along means that service wasn't in vain. Speaking for me, my earliest models were my great-grandmother's grandmother. And I saw what they did. I know how hard they worked. I know what they wanted for their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. They wanted these United States to live up to their promise. And so for me, it means that their work was not in vain. It means that it's just inspiring, I guess is the best way to say it. For 130 women to have filed for Congress, the greatest number at any point in our history, oh, that is so huge. And then for it to come in the year that we're celebrating 100 years of the suffrage for women, oh, that just makes it even greater. And so the more perspectives we have in Congress, I think the better the decision making, I think the better the debate, and I think the better the laws, and the
Mhm.
more folks will be served by it. So, anyway, it's an exciting time. I'm proud and so happy to be a part of it, and we're going to get it done.
Mhm. I know that. Listen, we've been over backwards to make sure that y'all have everything you need to get it done because and to kind of and each one of you have touched upon this, but um I just think about the qualifications that each of you have, which makes you at this time the right choice for your districts to represent everyone in your district. It doesn't matter their race, their economic background. I know that you ladies, from what you've done in the past in your service, you've been able to show that you have the best interests of your congressional constituents in mind. And you have the experience. And so this is actually a question back to you, Pat, is to be the first Black woman who was on the Supreme Court of your state and still have to try to convince people why you're the right choice. That must piss you off. Like,
Well,
so what I want to know is, so what I want to know from you, Pat, is how do you continue to maintain almost your humility to say, yes, I've done X, but I want to do Y, and what is your pitch when you go out and talk to voters to get them to understand that I am the right choice today for this role?
absolutely.
Without
I
saying,
talk,
duh.
I talk about my background. I make sure that they understand that the path hasn't been easy for me. It wasn't paved. I've worked hard. That my life is very much like your life. But there have been opportunities that were available, and I fought and made sure that I took advantage of each one of those opportunities. So I make sure that they understand that I get it. And there's enough out here, enough good out here for all of us. You know, work hard, play by the rules. There'll be folks to help you. Not everybody wants to stomp on your toe and make you feel pain and take your focus off of what it is that you want to do. There are people that understand that we are better. Our state, our community is enhanced when you are the best that you can be. And there are folks out there that will help you get to that point. And does it make me mad that I have to also lay out all of the education that I have and all of the opportunities? Well, I'm patient, and I understand some folks are a little slow and they don't get it at first. And so I go ahead and take the time and explain it to them. But the bottom line is that I talk so that folks can understand that I get it and I will work for you. I will speak out. I will be your voice because that's not something we've had in this district for quite some time. And
Mhm.
so you just do what you have to do to reach the people.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Pat. And to also tee off of something that you said before about, representation. One of the things we've been saying a lot at the collective is to change the laws, we must change the lawmakers. And we have to have people in office who represent and respect our communities. And so, Desiree, when I look at your congressional district, the Dayton area, an area that has two HBCUs, that has the third largest Black population in the state of Ohio, but rarely has Black people representing that district. And I think probably most of you can probably echo and say, some similar things with your districts. Um, why now? Why you? And as a millennial, especially, what is your pitch? How are you talking about why you are the right person to represent your district at this time?
Yeah, I am excited to be the first African American Democratic nominee. But I'll tell you, when I decided to run and when I signed up for this thing, I did not realize that I was the first or that I would be the first. And it was shocking to me that, but I decided, you know what, someone has to do it. And I'm excited that our HBCUs will have a representative in Congress who understands the value of HBCUs, who will invest in those HBCUs to make sure that they are sustainable in the long term, internships and job opportunities. We want to make sure that everyone, regardless of what you look like or who you love or your economic background, that you have a chance and a fair shot at this thing. And in my district, Black voter turnout declined from 2012 to 2018. In 2012, Black voter turnout in this district was at 73%, and in 2018, it declined to 43%. So we have to ask ourselves, why are people staying home or not participating? And are we talking to Black voters all year long, and not just Black History Month and the week before Election Day? Are we talking to Black voters about issues like jobs and education and not just criminal justice reform? Are we talking to Black voters about what they need out of government? Is government working for them? Because we pay taxes too. But one of the most astounding things I've experienced on the trail, and not just here locally, from people outside of the district, and I'm sure the other ladies can attest to this, is, oh my God, your district is not going to be Black. How are you going to convince people to vote for you? I mean, you won't be able to represent, and I won't be able to represent who. And we have to shake people and say, you know what? And I credit Cameron Webb for saying this, but like, white people like us too, right? Like, are you kidding me right now? We have come a long way in some areas, and we are supported by the diverse constituencies that we represent. And people have decided to get behind Desiree Tims because Desiree Tims is the best candidate for this moment. So I'm excited about that, and that's how we're going to win this thing, with unified power collectively.
Absolutely. Collective. I see that. Okay, I see you throwing it in there.
No, she didn't.
Yes. Hey, hashtag the collective, everybody. Kind of throwing social media in there. And I'm so glad you actually brought into this conversation that Black people can win everywhere. We can win everywhere. And I remember in 2018 when the collective was supporting Lucy McBath and Lauren Underwood and Johanna Hayes, and they were running in majority white districts, and folks just did not support them until the middle, if not the end of their campaigns. And we were committed to supporting them early on to show that, yes, when we have the support, we can win everywhere. So thank you for just bringing that into the conversation, Desiree. And I want to ask you, Joyce.
Can I just pop in? Remember,
please do.
All of us have traversed in white spaces. All of us have traversed in white spaces. I have 3 lives, and I've spent my entire 3 lives in white spaces.
You know what? And speak on that, because so one of the things that we have through our Black Campaign School that the collective does to help aspiring candidates or current candidates is we really try to talk about, what does it take to run as a Black person, but also, if you're running in a district that isn't necessary, doesn't necessarily look like you, and part of that is, well, I may look a certain way, but I also have values, and there's policies that I want to see passed, and a lot of those policies don't see color. And so, Jackie, I think it actually would, I would love to hear your take on how you've been able to be who you are, as I know, a very strong, authentically Black woman, but be able to also show and convey that, yes, I can represent this district just as well, better than anybody else.
I usually convey that with a really a good story. So when I was downrange, when I was deployed, that's Army talk, sorry. When I was deployed, I would look to my left and my right, literally, and I would see my comrades. I didn't see a Democrat or Republican because it didn't matter. I knew two things. One, I knew that they had my back. They had my 6, like my sisters here. And I knew we were going to accomplish the mission because that's what we had to do. And that's how I've operated as a soldier as an educator and as a public servant, whoever I'm charged, and even when I'm not working, I take care of people and I make sure the job gets done, and I don't stop until the loop is closed. I close the loop, and that's what matters. And that's how I approach it when I talk to voters. In this district, we have been suffering under the state and local tax cap. That is not Democrat or Republican. We all are suffering under that economic stress. We all are impacted by climate change when Superstorm Sandy came ravishing through here. That's not Democrat or Republican. Sandy didn't wind through and only hit certain homes. It hit everybody's home.
Right.
And so that's what I talk to voters about. And I ensure that they understand that when I will represent every human body in this district, from Sayville to Levittown and everything in between. And I just want to bring up that Levittown is in my district, and I'm sure we're all familiar with Levittown. Levittown is one of the first suburban communities that actually had in its covenant that Black people will not be sold homes. And now I'm running as a representative for that community. So we've come full circle, and it's really historical. And so I think it's resonating with people, and when I talk to them, they see the authenticity. They see my legacy of service since I'm 20 years old, up until and including this conversation. I have served without pause, with integrity and honesty and selflessness and intestinal fortitude. And it's the same approach I'm going to take to Congress.
Thank you. And I feel like all the ladies on here could probably totally replicate what you just said. And it's the service. It's the service that makes a difference. And Joyce, I think about Arkansas. Listen, I'm just going to be very honest. I feel
it coming.
I hear the word Arkansas. I think two things. I think Clinton and Walmart. I mean, those like the two things that I first think about. And what makes me so excited is in 2020, you hear Arkansas and people say Joyce Elliot. Like you have been able to penetrate, as all of you, because let me say this about, one of the unique things about about your races together is that you're in seats that people didn't think could be democratically won, let alone won by a Black woman. And so you're on that red to, from red to blue, like this is a single seat, like, whoa. And that's a major thing in Democratic, in politics. And Joyce, you are squarely in that place where people are now like, oh, let me take a look at Arkansas. Joyce Elliot. And so what do you think you and your team has been able to do to now have Arkansas in a different kind of conversation because of your race?
That's really interesting because where people like you outside of Arkansas will have, a kind of perspective. But part of the big thing for me was getting the people in Arkansas to believe it. Because people just settle and accept the fact that things are just the way they are. Luckily for me, I've never been that person since I was a little girl. I just never understood, for example, why boys had more privileges than girls did as athletes, because I was an athlete growing up and I thought I should get a scholarship just like boys. So I was forever questioning, and that just came kind of naturally for me. But it is really kind of a challenge to do these things, run for an office in a place like Arkansas, where in my district, the African American population is 21%. And I say in my district, and I say to people, we have this sorry history that we have an opportunity to change. Who in this room could be proud of this history? We're the only one of the old Southern slave states who's never overcome enough. While we sing, we shall overcome. Are we really still trying to overcome to elect somebody who looks like me that you have all known for a very long time? You know I'm qualified. I have taught your kids. Your kids are now voting for me. Your kids are now working in my campaign. They cannot be smarter than you are they? But the thing that I have to really watch is to make sure in the process of reminding people and getting them to look at me and know that I am a person who can represent everybody, because I recognize I'm a Black woman with very short hair. That should not be a thing, but Stefanie, you know it can be. Yeah, you know it can be, but it's a good thing for me. But what I have to be really careful about is in the process of persuading everybody who usually wouldn't vote for me, that I don't lose myself in that process. That's one of the things I have made very plain in this race. I am not going to compromise my identity to get your vote. But I'm going to give you a reason to vote for me. So I'm just suggesting that all of us get past my identity and listen to what I have done, what I can do, and what I promise to do along with you. And because the other thing about Arkansas is so many people remember Arkansas for Central High School, because that was ground zero for school desegregation. And I meet people from all over the world who know Arkansas because of that. But the good thing for us, and I think the good thing a lot of people are not paying attention to, we think this country is not changing at the ground level, or we've not, but my district, and I know it's true for other people's districts too, it has changed at the ground level, because people, no matter what color they are, what their race is, there are people who want something that's different. And one of what used to be one of the whitest counties in my district, last night I had a Zoom event with, don't get upset with me, Deltas, but I had a Zoom event with AKAs in that county.
Wait a minute now, Joyce. Sorry, I love my sisters too.
But there were people who thought that Black people did not exist in that district. So what I'm showing people on paper, look, this is who's living here now. And people who've been so closed into their own little worlds have not paid attention. So I'm teaching and showing them and knowing, and they know me as a person, like I said, so from the time I was 15, I've been opening doors, and especially through integration. But I also look at my record and say, how I work. I work with everybody. I work with Democrats and Republicans. It is not possible I could have been this successful as the person I am in the Arkansas legislature if I hadn't figured out a way to work with everybody. And the way I've done that is just like teaching school. If I've got 30 kids in the class, you can bet your life I've got 30 different personalities to deal with. And I have to do it and bring people together and not let things fall apart. And that's been very instructive and helpful to me. And I have people come into my defense, because just today, because we had good poll results, my opponent came out with a very nasty ad. I've not had to say very much at all in my campaign, except, look, this is how this is wrong. And the people who are standing up for me are people you would not have imagined even 2 years ago. So there is a way to help people understand people are people, but your specific person you want to be really matters as well, to balance both those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that, Joyce. And so one of the things that I'm a firm believer that when people hear your stories, they hear your plans, that they will understand why you are the right choice to serve in the seats that you're running for Congress. The thing that worries me is how unbelievably varied voting is by state. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're even in a situation now where it's like you can have a general voting message, but if it's not tailored to what is happening within your specific state, I mean, people are already voting in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. One of the hopeful things that we've just seen is that we've had over 3,500 Black people have already turned in their ballots in North Carolina, which is great. But I'm concerned that people are worried about voting in the midst of COVID and just all the different rules. And so, but I want to know, Pat, you're already in a state where, they don't make it that easy to vote. Gerrymandering is a thing and drawing different lines is a thing. And so what are you saying to the constituents that you are working to represent, that you talk to on the trail, to give them confidence? And this is actually a question for Pat and Desiree, to give them confidence that there are various ways they can vote, but that they must vote.
Yes. One of the ways that I do that is making sure that they understand the 8th Congressional District, the fact that it came about as a result of a lawsuit that challenged the gerrymandering. And as a result of it, the courts redrew the district in a way that it is giving the citizens an opportunity to select their leaders as opposed to the political party. So yes, we've had years and years of gerrymandering in North Carolina, but this year there's a real opportunity for folks' voices to be heard, and that's what it is that I'm explaining. So for example, in the 8th Congressional District, for the first time in more than 20 years, the entirety of Cumberland County is within the same congressional district. And that's huge for me because it happens to be my home county. And I've run for election successfully 5 times from here. And so as I get out and tell the citizens of Cumberland County that 40 to 43% of the district population is right here, you can decide who is going to serve in this congressional seat. And so they understand that. And they understand that we can win this seat because Pat's running. We know her record of service. She's worked hard for us for many, many years. I further impress upon them that we've assembled a top-notch team here, and we're reaching out into every corner of the district, and we're telling them the message that we will work for you, we will speak for you, and they understand that I represent the values of our district. And so, our message is resonating. We have a tremendous amount of momentum. It began when we outraised our opponent in the second quarter. It continued with our initial polling that showed us in a statistical tie with him. And then as I impress upon the citizens of our district that we have some 30,000 folks that have put their shoulder to the wheel and are pushing for the change that Pat Timmons-Goodson would bring. And so we've just got a lot of good stuff going on, and our citizens understand that. And they see that I represent the values of our district. They understand I represent justice and opportunity and fairness. And so we're going to get across that line.
Awesome. Thank you, Pat. Desiree?
Yeah, voting is so important, and I talk to people about it a lot on the trail. As you all know, during the first few months of the cycle, I hit the pavement, and I hit Central State and Uniforce and UD and West State and Trotwood, and I talked to so many voters, and they said, well, I don't really know how my little vote was meaning because the district is gerrymandered, or I don't know how my vote will mean anything, or I'll vote for you because I know you or I like you, but everybody else. And I said, wait, we have to talk about this. We have to talk about why people don't feel heard, why they don't feel part of the process. And it's because, one, we're not talking to them, and two, sometimes people just forget a little bit. So I teamed up with my cousin Yellow Pain to
Is he your cousin?
Wow.
Girl, tell him we calling him tomorrow, girl. Cause that video is something for real, for real. Sorry, go ahead, girl. That's my thing right there.
And he remixed it with 7 Streeter, and that came out this week. But that video came about from the campaign. It was, how do we get people here in Ohio fired up about voting, from the top of the ticket all the way down to the bottom? How do we talk about judges, and how do we talk about issues? And I think Democrats talk up here sometimes. I love y'all, but sometimes we talk up here. We gotta talk to people. And that's what the lyrics and the message is about in that song, is talking to people about why their vote matters, why it does count. And now we're asking people to make a plan to vote. In Ohio, we have no excuse absentee voting, which is exciting because now nearly 90,000 people in my congressional district have requested their absentee ballots. We want to make sure people know you can vote by mail from home. You can vote by mail, receive your ballot, and drop it off at the drop box outside of the Board of Elections, or you can vote in person. And in-person voting starts here in Ohio October 6th. And the last day to register to vote is October 5th. And my birthday is October 4th. So it would be a great for people to show me a snapshot of them registering to vote before the deadline, because I need you. And I cannot do this by myself. None of us can. We can't run these campaigns on the strength of our backs. And it goes to that soliloquy when people talk about Black girl magic, and we're so strong. And it's like, okay, but we need help. I can't do it all by myself. And so we need the community, all our friends and all of our neighbors to come together to vote. So if you have questions about voting in Ohio, go to makeitcountohio.com and double check your registration status and check that ballot, because we need you to show up and show out. And also, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris is on the ticket. So
yes, I know that's right. Thank you so much, Desiree. And so we have a couple more minutes, and I want to thank you for talking about. I mean, it takes all of us and giving that important information on the how to. And I think Jackie and Joyce. What I also love about your race is that they're also inspirational. And I know you've come across women who have said, I've thought about running for office. I want to be on the school board or city council. I just don't know, if I should do it. I'm not a political person or whatever. Just in a couple of words, and we'll start with you, Jackie, and then Joyce. What is it that you say to women to give them the hope and inspiration that they too can represent their communities through elected office?
Oh boy, I tell them to just try, to just do it. We all, and first of all, the first thing I tell them is that I'm right there. I will always be there. Here's my phone number. Here's my contact information. I will be there with you every step of the way. Whatever you need, I'll be there to help you. Because whatever you need to do, we need each other, and you need to be a representative. And so however I can help you, I'll be there to help you, and I will help you every step of the way. And I think it was Desiree that said, we have to bring others along. And if, you, Stefanie, you're a great example. That's exactly what you did with me. That's exactly what you're doing, because I wouldn't be able to do this by myself. And so that's what I do whenever anyone needs help with, or sometimes I even insert myself. I'm like, a friend of mine was actually on a committee to interview folks for a state assembly position. And I said to her, what are you doing on this committee? You should be running for the position. She said, oh, no, Jackie. And I needled her and then I went and I spoke to the chairman, and I said, you know what? Why do you have her on this committee? She should be running for the seat. And then they flipped the script, and then she ended up running for the seat. So sometimes I insert myself where I don't belong. And then
I can't imagine.
And I know her well. Sometimes, but you have to, I offer myself as a support and as a resource, as I just encourage them to go for the gold,
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I know, Joyce, I was listening to her too, sometimes insert yourself, Jackie. Okay. Well, listen, it's always right on time, honey. It's always right on time. Joyce, give us your thoughts here.
Yeah, the first thing I do, because I know people have such a habit of building somebody up, like they would see me run for something or any of my sisters here on the screen, and they start to think we're special and that we bring some kind of Zulu magic or something with us, that we can do this. And so what I do is I always disabuse them I start with myself. I am not special. Do not build me up to put me on a pedestal, because what that does is gives you an excuse that you can't get to some imaginary pedestal that you have created. You can do this. Just look at, and I'll pick some names where that person did not hesitate. As usual, he got up and ran. He probably is running and taking up a space because a woman stepped back. And there is no reason for you not to step up. And don't be afraid of fear. Don't be afraid of the trepidation, but do not let that be a reason not to step up and fill this space. Because if we don't fill our own spaces, somebody else will. Mm-hmm. And then we will be upset about the decisions that we make. Don't let it happen. But always know there are people who will help you. And I'm going to have to get off, and I think because I've got another thing coming up. But Stefanie, I want to thank you and the collective for so much support that you have given us and made us feel, that warm hug I mentioned at the beginning. You were one of those really big warm hugs, and I really appreciate it. And
thank you.
Yeah.
We have your back. And let me just say this. Uh-huh. You are special, but you're not singular.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
And it doesn't, you all are the stepping stones that we continue to need to have folks, especially Black people, make the progress that we need. And so, and I know, and Joyce, if you have to leave, please go ahead and hop off. Thank you again so much. We are with you. Pat, Desiree, and Jackie, I have one kind of last little round of quick fire questions I want to ask before we get ready to close. And what I like in talking to the various candidates that we've talked to thus far is really pinpointing, and really to Joyce's point, you all are human beings. You're women with families and friends and, people like, girl, why you ain't call me back? And I'm like, I'm running for Congress. You know what I mean? And so what I want to know is, in a quick fire, I am looking for one answer from each of you on these quick fire questions. Okay, we're going to go Pat, Desiree, Jackie. This is around self-care. First question is, what is your number one go-to comfort food? Pat.
Don't laugh. Chitlins.
You know how long it takes to make chitlins? That's your fast comfort.
I don't make them.
You go pick them up. Yeah. See, in North Carolina, y'all got options to pick it up. Okay. That's good. See, look at me making it long. Thank you, Pat. Desiree.
Reese's.
Oh, yeah, girl. Thank you. Jackie.
Oxtails.
Did you say oxtails?
Yes.
Pat and Jackie, let me tell you, after the elections, we gonna holler, okay? We gonna holler. We gonna get Desiree gonna bring the desserts. Okay, next quick question. If you have 1 hour of free time out of your day, don't say sleep, what show would you want to watch on TV? Let's go Jackie, Desiree, and then Pat. Jackie.
Ghost.
Oh, okay, Power. Okay, Ghost. I see you. Okay. All right, Desiree.
Scandal.
Okay, that's good. All right, very good. Powerful Black woman, saving the day as we do. All right, Pat.
I don't know. I don't watch much TV.
And listen, I should have asked if you only had an hour to do nothing, what would you do? I'm sure you would be like, take a nap.
That's it, exactly.
Take a nap. I know that's right. Okay, very good, ladies. And so then my last question as we get ready to close is, I just want you to tell us something that either we don't know, what gives you motivation? What keeps you on that trail? Just in, 30 seconds, like, do you have a mantra? Do you have a word? Do you have a scripture? Like, what is it that makes you feel like, yep, I'm waking up today, and this is the day we gonna get at it? And anyone can go first.
I'd like to remember that the Lord's in charge and I don't have to fear anybody. And that takes a lot of pressure off.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you, Pat.
I do this because I I feel obligated. So many people before me did what they do and that allowed me to be here. And so I have an obligation to take that baton and carry on so others can have a path as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Desiree?
Well, that was so beautiful, ladies. I try to think about all the people whose shoulders I stand on, the Ryan McMahons of the world, my grandmother, the Joyce babies, my mother, and all the women who have sacrificed for me to get to where I am. But that said, on a bad day, when I need to hype myself back up, because people say some really crazy things to candidates. And I'm like, you don't know me. Why would you think such a thing like that? You don't know me that well. But music is my therapy. So I start my mornings with a nice Beyonce hype song. Be hype for the day because it is a lot of call time, as these ladies know. And you have to go in the room with really good energy. And I find that, music usually sets the tone.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And, ladies, again, it is truly the collective's honor to stand beside each of you. We're so proud. Like, I saw something recently that said, we are the new ancestors. And I was like, golly, I'm only 39. But it resonated because, like, for real, shoot. But, it resonated with me so much is because what we do today will have consequences tomorrow and for years to come.
Yes.
And so I want you all to know that we are grateful for your service that you've already done, and that we will be with you until we cross over that finish line on November 3rd. But most importantly, once you are in Congress, we will continue to have your back. So just thank you so much. I want to encourage everyone who is watching tonight, please go to collectivepac.org/candidates. And there you will find the websites and the profiles of each of these ladies, including Joyce. I encourage you to go to their websites, learn more about them, their policy platforms, but most importantly, please donate to them, and donate in two ways. Donate to them directly from their websites and donate to the collective. You can say specifically, I want to support Jackie, Desiree, Pat, and Joyce, and that money will go to them as well. So you're going to do a double dose, okay? So I encourage you to please do that. We need to help these ladies across the finish line. And I want you to learn about the other 156 dynamic Black people that we've been able to support across the country. And then finally, this is, as I mentioned, the 7th in our series, in our Collective Power virtual speaker series. Our next event is coming up in just a couple of weeks. Is it next week? Man, that's next week. On the 23rd, goodness. On the 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern, we have the dynamic candidates that are running for Senate. This is our year to make history, y'all. So we're going to have Adrian Perkins from Louisiana, Mike Espy from Mississippi, and Marquita Bradshaw from Tennessee. They're all running for the Senate, y'all. We need to flip that Senate. And so please join us for a dynamic conversation with them. To come, we're going to have a conversation with Jamie Harrison, who's running for Senate in South Carolina. We've already talked to Reverend Raphael Warnock from Georgia. So please join us. And finally, continue to spread the word about the collective. Again, go to collectivepac.org. Follow us on social media, and please follow and support these beautiful, brilliant, talented, dynamic Black women that are running for office to represent their communities and to represent all of us. So thank y'all so much for joining tonight. We wish you all the best. There's 47 days to go to election. Have a plan, vote, spread the word. Bye, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.